Off we go.
Hi, America.
Hello, America.
Welcome to Angel and the Wiz.
At Positive City. This week's word is humility. These 2 weeks, last week was happiness. This week is humility, both given to us by Princess Angel.
People are going to start thinking I'm actually royalty.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Bow down to me.
It's healthy. This week's song is True Tonight. And the reason why True Tonight, when we're doing a show called On Humility, is because just one of the verses was, when I was young, I knew of love. There were no things I had questions of. But that's not so true tonight. We spoke of dreams we'd build someday, how nothing could ever block our way. But that's not so true tonight. And you'll hear the rest of the song at the end. Well, I got all kinds of little things that we can talk about. This is the one I want. You haven't had a chance probably to see Ben Carson, but every time Sean Hannity did a show and he had about 30 black conservatives on. And if you're black and you're conservative, you get attacked viciously by the media. It never stops. Because both the Democrats and the media that works for them really wants to keep blacks down. They want to keep them voting for them. They don't want them to get too uppity. They don't want them to go out on their own too much, you know. But the fact of the matter is, Dr. Ben Carson is now the new black American role model. But he's not just a black American role model. He's an American role model. This gentleman is a master brain surgeon. He's as bright. Let me tell you something. There's nobody in politics smarter than this guy. Okay? This is a real master. You know what I mean? The talent and everything that he has. He speaks very gently, and he is the new black role model, and there's just nothing anybody's going to be able to do about it. And the Jesse Jacksons and the people like that, and I, you know, he's just remarkable. And it's nice to see that we're starting to get more and more conservative blacks who are, and you know, because it's like this. Here, this would be a point I'm trying to make. If you're a black man and you're making babies, and you're not staying in that family to deal with those babies, you are hurting black America. You are not a big man if you are not taking care of the babies you make. And just loving them and leaving your seed around is not a very noble thing to do. It's not a very nice thing to do. And it doesn't help those children at all. So I say to you who think you're so cool, you know, having babies all around, you're not doing anything for those kids. You are pushing those kids into a life that you should have to pay for. Because the opportunities that they have are drastically limited because of your actions. Because you think it's cool. And I'm here to tell you that it's not cool. You don't need a white guy to tell you it's not cool. Bill Cosby and a lot of people have been trying to tell you it's not cool, but you don't want to listen to them. And that's where you're making your mistake. That's why I'm happy to see those people, those black folks that are out there, and Latins, you know how I feel. They're all Americans. I am happy to see anybody that's out there trying to do the best they can do. I got a friend of mine, Ron Slanton, he's an entrepreneur, black guy, totally irrelevant to the story. But he's an entrepreneur, and he's out there, and he's trying, and I even keep him in my prayers. I mean, I want him to succeed because he's trying so hard. It has nothing to do with the packaging. And that's one of the things that Carson said too. He says, when I open somebody's head up and I'm looking at the thing that really makes them who they are, the brain, he said, I don't see any color. Mm-hmm. I see gray. Do you know what I mean? So, let me see. Let me see what else. No. Happiness, okay, this is humility. Civil rights.
You're gonna have some. I don't think I'm gonna do a lot of talking in this show.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You got that look in your eye. You get a little woo.
Well, you know, and here, let me
It's
make...
like glimmer and glow when you get excited about it. You're like,
well,
yeah.
Well, let me make, and I'm going to make this point that I wrote over here. The real 1% who make America great. We've been doing all this attacking the 1%, the 1%, the 1%. But it's like the happiness deal we spoke about last week. What are we happy about? Well, they're talking about the 1%, and all they're talking about is money. They're not talking about the 1%, the intelligent people in this country. Well, Dr. Carson is one of that 1%, you know, the 1% that is bright. That's what I like about Gallagher. Gallagher's audiences, they say, are the 1%. They're the people that think about things. You know, that's, you know, I mean, so that's, I want to say that. Let me see. Oh, yeah. So, a couple of weeks back, these two people that are friends of Obama, they got to go to Cuba. And everybody made this big deal about it and everything else. And Cuba's been so depressed for so long because once the communists came in, nobody would have anything to do with them, or America wouldn't. I mean, all those businesses were gone. So I said,
but now they're starting to go back, right?
Well,
Businesses, they've opened up some sort of something with Cuba.
Well, they've done something that they weren't supposed to do until communism was gone. But we already know the person that we're dealing with the White House. But I'm not going to waste any time.
Not that. No, I'm saying
he's the one that opened it up and started doing these things.
Well, it's a good thing, right?
No, he has no loyalty to those people in Cuba that got killed and they're blah 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 blah. I'm not going into it.
What?
He is.
Never mind.
No.
I'm out of.
But I got a solution.
Okay.
Let's give Cuba to the mob.
What?
Well, the mob was always down there. They ran all the casinos and everything else. Let's make a deal with the mob. You leave here and you can have Cuba. You can have your own country.
We don't even own Cuba.
Doesn't matter.
We own Puerto Rico. We can give them Puerto Rico.
Nah, give them Cuba. Because they're the only guys that could go in there and deal with it properly.
Okay.
And they can, and you know what? Look at what they did in Las Vegas. So give them the mob. Tell them to leave here, though. That's the deal. We're trading America for Cuba. You can have your own country. We'll leave you alone. But if you stay here, we're going to track you down as much as we can. So why don't you just go there? Hey, even Al knew he had to leave town at one point. He had to go into the outside suburbs because things were too hot.
Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the house where he went.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet you do. Okay, let me say.
I mean, it was. I don't know if it's still standing, but
we. I'm going to say something. Okay, and I really feel it's true. There is not a man in politics today that can stand up to Sarah Palin, and I don't really care what any of you think. Okay, she has more moxie and more dedication and more foresight and more of the things that we need in our politicians than a single guy out there. There's not a single one.
I really want to meet her.
I think you would be so impressed with her. I think you would be so. She's got. Oh,
with her.
I would love to meet her too. Just I mean, listen, and I'm not just saying,
really
you're a
cool.
guy. You just think she's pretty. Yeah, and do you know what? She looks just like how the president of the United States would look like if she was a woman. She'd be beautiful. She'd be smart, and she'd be dangerous as hell. And I'm telling you, that's what Sarah Palin is. All of those things.
I just really want to meet her.
Well, I hope you get a chance because that means I'll probably get to meet her too. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to say the reason I mentioned that is because we lost Margret Thatcher, who was a great friend to America, special lady. Let me just finish. And they're so scared of her legacy that they've got these little groups, 10 people here and 15 people there and 20 people there, celebrating her death, because that's what we have to live with. We're living in a time when the media has sold out the countries that they are in. They are now working for distinct little groups, okay? But what I wanted to say was, if Margaret Thatcher was the Iron Lady, Sarah Palin's is diamonds. And I'm telling you, everybody's afraid to give her credit, but she deserves to
I just have to say
credit.
that Margaret Thatcher and Annette had passed away in the last
Yes.
recently. So when I found out about them, honest to goodness, my first thought was, I didn't know they were still alive.
Well, a lot of people don't.
I had thought that they had passed away
Already.
Yeah, like years, like they
Right.
had been dead 10, 15 years. And
Uh-huh.
so when they I was like, well, shoot, I didn't know they were still alive. Excuse me.
No, well.
It's like when I went to work on Easter Sunday and someone said Happy Easter to me,
Right.
and I said, oh, that's today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. out of touch with reality a little bit?
I really have been in my own little world. You know,
And
like I said, March has been a rough month for me.
And-
The beginning of April's not looking so good either. So.
Well, and I'm sorry to hear that. But what I want to
been in
say,
my own little world.
yeah, but and another thing that upsets me about all that nonsense is that I didn't see why, if it happened, I missed it. Why didn't Obama drop the flags to half staff on the day that she died? I don't know whether they did it or not. I know I went to a couple of places that I was at, and I was very surprised to see no half-staff flags, and I really meant that. And that's a shame. And for as far as Annette goes, it's neat what you mention her, because, you know, I grew up during that period of time, and Annette was every little pubescent's boy. She was it boy.
Yeah.
That was Annette. You know what I mean? And Cubby, who looks so much like your Adam. Okay, Cubby was the little kid. I mean, they were the two stars of the show, you know. And I just, you know, although I was impressed that some places did remember her.
And Roger Ebert died too.
Yeah, I heard that he passed away.
That was sad.
And somebody else just died on tape day here.
I don't know.
And I don't remember. I wish I could remember, because it was like that third thing that was going to drop. Okay, let me go back over here to my couple of notes.
I got notes. I got 4 pages of notes.
Yeah, and I'm tired of every black man that stands up for something different than the line that the Democrats preach to, is treated like, they call him an Uncle Tom, and they belittle him, and they attack them, and they are vicious to them. And can I tell you, it shows how scared to death they are of him. That's why you knew Sarah was a winner, by the viciousness of the attacks that came after her. Because what do they say? When you're over the target, you get flack.
Something
you know,
like that.
well, that's, you know, so that's where that came from. Let me see. Wonderfulness. Oh yes. We're living in a time when there are people around that remember the 60s. A lot of the people that were in the 60s don't remember a lot of it. Okay, I've been told.
I should tell you, I know. I was negative 20 years old.
Okay,
in the
so
60s.
so take this as a flashback.
Okay.
And the point.
Flashback.
Yeah, the thing that the point that I'm trying to make, I don't know if I need to put the political sign up for this. I'm not going to worry about it. Is that when we fought and we protested, the two things that we protested and fought for was civil rights for the black man, which we only got because Republicans voted for it. The Democrats and their members in the KKK fought against it. It was Republicans who got you civil rights, my friends. And that's a fact. I don't need you to check it. And civil rights and the war in Vietnam. And whether it was right or not for us to protest the war in Vietnam, in reality, what we were protesting was the draft, in the sense that if you want to fight this war, you get a volunteer army to fight it. You don't draft people and interrupt their lives and have them go fight it, because we weren't fighting it in the proper way to win. So here were two things. One, the civil rights of fellow Americans, and the draft for the war that was basically started by the CIA. I understand why they did it, but they had no right to be drafting these kids to go fight it. Those are the kind of things we protested for. And we still did not do the stuff that these clowns, Occupy Wall Streeters, and all they are, they're out there, they're not risking their lives, they're not doing anything. All they are is creating trouble, and actually they've disappeared, you know. Because they had nothing. In other words, there was nothing to hold them together. They had no common cause. And it was like, if you were comparing off the sea those people to the people that protested for civil rights, there was no comparison. The people that protested for civil rights, they risked their lives to help their fellow Americans. These occupiers, they are nothing, and I bet you that's why they're gone. They evaporated.
Maybe.
And they were also being paid. And I have a hot flash, if I might be so bold, for the Republican Party, the GOP. You cats are not going to continue to exist unless you realize that the only thing you have going for you are the Tea Party people. The Tea Party is what put all the people that you got that are worth having in office. And if you don't go back to the grassroots and start to embrace the Tea Party and bring them in, you're not going to exist. And while the Democrats are going to be happy at your demise, a word of caution to those folks. If the GOP goes down, the people that are going to come back are going to be much harder to deal with. Because if the GOP goes down, because it doesn't listen to its grassroots and it doesn't stand for something and stand continuously and explain it properly and do it the right way, it's going to disappear. And it's going to be replaced by those people that make up the Tea Party now. And those people don't take prisoners. So you Democrats, you better enjoy what you have right now. Because either the GOP is going to wake up or they're going to go by the wayside and you're going to have a period of time and then we're going to come back. And we're going to straighten this whole mess out. And you can count on that. You can take that to the bank. That's that pendulum thing.
Can I ask you a campaign question?
Oh, absolutely. What time is it on the thing?
15:28.
Okay, so let's say 15:28. I didn't write it down. Where's my little pen? 15:28.
15:28.
Political sign. Okay.
How would you, as president, handle North Korea right now?
Okay, well, let's say, and that would, and now to do the premise properly, we have to start from the point of view that everything was in process. The former president, Mr. Obama, has done what he's done up till now, because I would have never let it get to this stage. Okay, so we have to say from now. So he's just left, and I've just come in, and I'm coming into this situation as it exists. The first thing I would do is I would get a hold of somebody that has his ear, and believe me, we know people that can talk to him.
Talk
okay?
to who?
The child bride.
Kim Jong.
Yes, that guy. Right. Okay, right. Whatever his name is, I could care less. Okay. He's just a little boy. Okay, and I would have somebody get to him in privately, not in front of the world, and explain to him the real facts of real life. Okay, that you're not going to benefit from this. You could end up losing everything, and we're here in the privacy of this little room to tell you that and explain to you that, so that you might save face and go out there and come to this epiphany on your own. Okay, and then we'll help you from that. And if you don't take us seriously, I don't have a second thought about turning this into a parking lot. Okay, you want to have cement from South Korea to China? That's fine with me. I got the thing that can do it. But we don't want that. We want you to go out there and say, I want to be a part of the world, la-di-da and stuff like that. You know, and I would have never knocked down the Patriot, the protective, the missiles, and this clown. So that's one of the other things I would do. The first thing I would do is start putting our missile defenses back out, so people can't shoot missiles in. We got away from missile defense because this guy that was here before me didn't quite understand the real world. Too many unicorns and stuff like that, and that the unicorn days are over. Okay, we're going to deal with reality as we find it. And we're going to take prisoners if necessary, and not if necessary. This is the old America. The old America's back. Okay, remember those guys that you didn't like, those cowboys, those Texas Rangers that rode the range and kept peace and freedom throughout the world? Well, we didn't want this job, but evidently we got it. And you got somebody sitting in here now that has absolutely no problem enforcing it.
So okay.
And then at the same time I was doing that, because you see, I believe in talking. But I don't believe in the way these people do it. I believe in talking, really talking. Mm-hmm. I would have my people with China. I would be, in other words, I would have if it was me, I would have somebody with that guy in China and that guy in Russia all the time. There would be somebody, I know we have ambassadors and all that stuff, but my ambassadors would be in touch. We would have an open dialogue that never shut down. Why? Because you're the biggest, we don't want to end up fighting each other. And we don't want to go into a war because some jackass did something stupid and nobody was smart enough to just squash him like a bug. Okay, now, we don't want to do that. I want to always try and do things in the most positive sense. Reagan had a saying on his desk, and it's absolutely true. It's not so hard to get things done if you don't care who takes credit for it. Okay, well that's where I am. I don't care. I have enough credit for everything in my life. If I became president, I would probably be out cold for the first few hours, okay? But let me tell you something. This country could do so much worse, and is doing worse right now, than me, that they would benefit if they had the Wiz as president, because the Wiz does not take everything upon himself. The Wiz looks for people that know the proper answer, and invites them to come in and help. In other words, so anyway, that would be the answer to that question. I don't know if that was a fair answer or not.
It is a good answer.
Okay.
We need to talk about humility, don't we?
Yeah, because humility is a great grounding force. Okay? One of the notes I wrote down about humility was cleaning up after your pet. You clean up after your pets. This lady has 6 cats, okay? I clean up after my pet. People that don't clean up after their pet need to, because they are showing arrogance. They are showing the fact that they don't care about the people around them, or they're showing that they're too embarrassed to pick that up. Wow, can you imagine living under that? I'm too embarrassed to clean up after my pet. I mean, what baggage and stress they must have in their life. So I mean, while it's a silly, it may seem like a silly thing, but it's a great source of humility. Things like that, things that you do. You see garbage on the side of the street, maybe you pick it up and you throw it away. You know, maybe there's that person at work that nobody talks to and you talk to them. You know, those kind of things. Those things ground your life. And if you can manage to stay humble, then you're never in... See, if I might be so bold, if you have humility, you've eliminated a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because if you have this bravado and this pride and all this arrogance, that's a hell of a thing to maintain. And when it's not being maintained, you know, you work in anxiety management like crazy. And so, see, I've always tried to be humble. Listen, they used to say, I think I probably still do, have an inferiority complex, you know, because I walk around, you know, and it doesn't always show, but in some ways with me, it's good that I have that, because I am, you know, listen, I go through the same things that everybody else goes through, but I walk with the Lord. And that means that I have a place to take my anxiety. I have someone that's always willing to help me with my stress. I have someone that is always there ready to teach if you're willing to learn. And, you know, so, and believe me, it keeps you humble. But it's good to be humble, because when you live in that world, you are so... I'm with the Lord. How can I, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's important to stay humble, because otherwise you'd be so dingy, you wouldn't get out of the house. You'd be bouncing off the walls, because you know the Lord is a wonderful partner in life. You know what I mean? And that's why we talked about happiness. You know, in other words, I love my wife. Well, I love all of my wives. No, it's a long story. But I love my wife, but she's not before God. She's after God, you know, and I pray for these people, you know, but God's first, because He's the one, in my case it's He, that's always there. He's never turned His back on me. He has a sense of humor. Yes, I know about that part. Mm-hmm. Okay, but for me, in my life, there's never been a time when He wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean I haven't. And believe me, I've prayed and I've had problems and I couldn't fix them, and you know, but they always did eventually get fixed. Okay, some things have to come at their own time, if you will. We have about a minute and 30 left.
I want to say this about humility. You know, when it comes to like picking up pet poop, it's very embarrassing for me. Gandalf, and we've met Gandalf before. Yes. Gandalf now poops outside the litter box. He gets really close, right, to, like, he knows where the litter box is, but he has vision issues and he can't quite get into the litter box. Right. So he poops right outside it. Right. And he usually does it between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Right. And and if I clean it, I get up in the morning, right, and that's the first thing I check to see if it's out there, and then I clean it up. And I am so embarrassed when if it happens and I have to go to work early, and my roommate comes home and it's after I left for work, so there's no mess there, but then and then my roommate has to pick it up. Not that
does he?
He does. You know,
that's
and
nice.
Yeah, and it's not like, you know, he's not forced to, but it's also, there's cat poop outside the litter box. Right. So he takes a rubber glove, scoops it, and throws it in the litter box, and that's all he does, you know, which is fine. But I feel so, it's a very humbling, you know, I'm so embarrassed, but he also understands that there's
and isn't it funny?
Issues. So
pets have a way of keeping us grounded.
They have. I have learned how to love unconditionally because of those animals.
And
love unconditionally.
On that note, true tonight, words of humility. Bye.
Bye, America. Do something good every day and volunteer at your local animal shelter.
Design him a new tuxedo, right? Anything could happen. Here is the Wizard and Glenn Mack, and the song is titled True Tonight, written and sung by the Wizard. Okay.
That's not so true tonight. We spoke of dreams we'd build someday, how nothing could ever block our way. But that's not so true tonight. Time goes by and your friends may leave. You grow older, you old, and toys return to memories, and then suddenly you're grown. So look around, see if they show those dreams we shared so long ago. And do they shine tonight? When summer lasted for half the year, there was always Mom or Dad. When heroes lived in every form, there was only good and bad. So look for love, look high and low, and if it finds you, don't let it go. You'll want it here at night.
And sung by the Wizard.